white city. I've got the adequate committee. Where have your walls gone? I think about it now. Chicago in fashion.
Hello everyone, this is the JavaScript guy. This tutorial is going to be teaching about displaying and hiding elements through the use of display styles and inner HTML with DOM. Alright, so without further ado, let's get started. You'll see I've got this very simple web page set up with hello world and change text. Now, what this is going to do is that when I click the link, it's going to change the text. Doesn't do anything after that, though. You've probably seen this effect, though, on a much, prettier looking scale. When you go to certain websites, you may click a button and maybe an error box will appear on the page, move all the other elements down, or maybe something on the page will change in real time without the actual URL address changing. Well, that's what I'm doing here. I'm using DOM to change the styles and change the display. So here's the code. You can see in my body I've got two divs set up, here and here, and then my link, which references the function which does all the work. You can see I've set up an ID for each div, and that's extremely important if you want to access them, because the entire concept behind being able to change the style or change the inner HTML is this: document.getElementById and then the ID you've set. DOM, it can be a sort of an abstract concept to get at first. I'll just give a quick run through of basically how you should think about DOM, or in what terms you should think about it. First, when you say document, that means you want JavaScript to go in and find everything within the entire document, inside the entire web document. Then, when you add a dot, you move on to a different element, a different level, I guess you might say. To get element by ID, message 1. So anywhere in that document, it's going to search for the ID message 1. And when it finds it, because I've set it down here in my div, it's going to go into that tag. It's going to say, okay, what next? So then I say dot style. That's going to find all the style related to this div. And then I put a specific kind of style I want to look at, display. And the display is basically how the element, or how the text of the element, or anything in the element really, is laid out. The most common properties I use, even though there are a lot of them, are inline, block, and none when I don't want something to appear. As you can see, I've set this second div, its style display, to none, which is why it's not there at first. So instead of actually changing the text itself, I'm just hiding one chunk of text and making another appear to achieve that effect. That's one way of doing it. And so we'll focus on this way for just a minute longer. Okay, now two very important things you might want to know about using document.getElementById is, one, that I use divs for my IDs, and the reason is because I can arbitrarily place them and add various IDs to them, because they don't inherently do anything to the inside text. So I'm going to hide that stuff. Oops. Alright, this next chunk of code that you see here, that is basically set up a way to toggle between them. Now, the reason I've set up these two variables instead of referencing it with all that, like I did up here, is because that gets really annoying to type out, and even if you want to copy paste it, it's still pretty annoying and repetitive. So you can cut down your syntax by quite a bit if you set the object up in a variable, like I have here. If you just say a variable equals document.getElementById, it's going to get that object. The reason you don't want to go farther, as you can see down here, I reference the object which is the variable name, and then the display and style. The reason you don't want to go beyond that usually is because, for instance, if I did .style.display, it wouldn't really be referencing in storing the document. It would be storing that specific string that it gets. So DOM object 1, if we put .style.display there, it would be equal to a string called block. It wouldn't be equal to an object we could reference later. And so we can do a lot more stuff with it in that form. And this is just simple if-else statement to get it to toggle. I'll save that. There you go, and it toggles back and forth from hello world to hello YouTube. Now, the other way to do this, to achieve this real-time switching effect, is to use inner HTML. When using inner HTML, it's also important to use your document.getElementById, referencing a unique ID somewhere down in there. But this time, inner HTML does something slightly different. Instead of changing the style to hide it or display it, you're going to actually alter the contents of it. So when it finds 1 here, DOM object 1, actually I don't need that, but whatever, I put it in anyway. You're going into the inner HTML, so instead of going into the style here, you can imagine it's placed, it's actually going directly into here, what's contained between the tags. And so I'm changing this directly. It would be, using this command is the same as actually deleting this and retyping hello YouTube. And because it's putting everything in the quotes directly in between the tags, you can also use HTML in there. So if I wanted to bold it, now it's bold. And that's really all you need to know. These commands that you just learned are actually very simple, and they're easy to remember, but and it's my little example here doesn't make it seem like you can do a whole lot with them, but you really can. You can do so much more of them, and here's an example I created showing what you can do. This look obviously has a little bit more color than the last one. Maybe it doesn't look too appealing. I don't know. I'm not very good with style sheets, which is what this uses. So I've set up a little header menu there and a little body. And as you can see, when I click, it changes the heading and the content. How I achieve this effect is using a combination of everything we just learned. Here's the multiple divs down here. Contained within this field set on the div is the green box, the entire green box. And I've got a content head where I house the title. And I've got a couple different divs with the content. And then they all have obviously unique IDs that I reference up here in the change content. Now a lot of the stuff up here isn't anything you need to worry about. That's just style, so it makes it look nice. The only thing to remember is this. I've set the starting display for a couple of these things to none. Now, I've got my variables here, my DOM objects, stored in variables, and this is a switch statement, which I'm going to assume you know what that does. I put in default here because that's just good practice. And so here I'm changing this display of all the divs down here. I set the name of the one that's passed to block, and then all the other ones to none, because I don't have a way of knowing which one is currently selected. Although I suppose I could set something up like that, but it would be unnecessarily complicated for this example. And then I use inner HTML to change the header. I use inner HTML for this because it's just a very small bit of text, and not a lot of writing like this, because I don't like to put a lot of writing up in my JavaScript. So that's pretty much everything. Hope you have a better understanding of how to work with DOM maybe, and using inner HTML and that kind of thing. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to comment or PM me.